morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm rather new to Ocala, just here a couple of years, and I'm an educational psychologist by formal training, and have been working all over the planet in individual, group, and corporate performance enhancement for over 30 years. And I'm not talking about the type of performance enhancement you might talk about over dinner. I'm talking about the kind, the kind that we can use to increase our vitality, our joy, our energy, and our focus to experience our own lives as more full, rich, and complete, but also to take that power and that talent and focus it on behalf of our businesses. And so what I'd like to do today is break this 6 minutes up into about 2 3-minute segments and talk a little bit about the work I do to help an individual release themselves from the limitations and constraints that frustrate them the most. The kind that keep us from hitting our peak performance, the kind that rob our joy. We're in the middle of something that should be extremely joyful for us, but we find out that I'm not having that experience. And then when we remove that, we can then see some amazing things happen in our lives. So the first part will be about the book that's coming out called Untwisted. And this is coming out from Square One Publishers in New York in August. And then we're going to talk about the application of performance enhancement tools to corporations. And then I'm going to mention to you a entrepreneurial management technique that we've used all over the world for almost 30 years now, called customer-driven leadership. And it's about reviving the human spirit for power and profit. So if you want to look at a theme today for everything I'm going to say, you hear that word spirit there. And you might want to use, for the sake of today, the interchangeable term soul, spirit. What we're really looking at in my work, which is why the name of the company is called Source-Like Consultants, is how do we go to source within ourselves? How do we get past our ego, our pain stories, and so forth, to get to our true, powerful selves? And then how do we bring that forward for our life and for corporations? So, Untwisted. You can see that the title, the byline says, How to Use the Power of Love to Heal Your Emotional Pain. The difference in the work that I'm doing is that we're not talking about love as something that we're going to seek from someone else, or that we're trying to manipulate or get or buy or hope for. The love I'm talking about is the fact that you and I and everyone already is love. And I'm going to take a little step out right now, not too far into theology, and say, if we assume that the old adage is true, God is love, then we can flip that into mathematical formula and say love is God. So wherever we find love, we find the presence of the divine. And when we begin to find love in ourselves to a huge degree, a greater degree even than perhaps we've ever known is possible, then we can begin to realize just exactly how close we are to Source, and how that power and that truth and that love and that goodness is available for all of us. So what blocks us from having that experience and bringing that truth forward? I brought this little bucket as just a little way to symbolize or show what we do. And this is in the book Untwisted. We have 3 types of pain, each of us. We have the pain that we receive in this lifetime. So you could call it sensory pain. I stuck my finger on the fire and it burned, or someone did or said something that hurt me, and that's my direct experience, okay? So type 1 pain, sensory, direct life experience. Type 2 pain is the pain that's stored in our DNA. We all hold everything from our ancestry. And so therefore you already have a pre-wired way of responding to certain stimuli. So that's in there as well. What I'm talking about is a third type of pain that we don't normally talk about. This is the fascinating, beautiful, exciting part of the work I do. And that work, by the way, is called the LifeLift Experience. And this is a one-day seminar, which we can talk about in greater detail later. But this one-day seminar actualizes everything I'm talking to you about. Third type of pain is what we're talking about here in LifeLift. We're going to dig down into the deep well of pain that belongs to our parents. It turns out that as our souls, we'll call this quantum physics, when our souls come from quantum into conception, we immediately start reading the emotional signals of our parents. Immediately. And we immediately begin absorbing and holding that pain. That pain isn't ours. But since our brain is a live computer, if we keep feeding it with that pain, it starts to say, oh, that must be mine. And we derive a belief. And that belief becomes our single biggest limitation throughout our whole lives. And we don't even know we did it. Why don't we know? Because it's so painful to hold our parents' deepest pain with them, for them, loving them, keep maximum love flowing in the family system. It's so painful that we have to build an ego defense to that. I can't possibly be in that much pain. I can't go to kindergarten and go, hi, did you know I'm in agony? It just doesn't work to get on with life, right? And so we build these amazing ego personalities to push the weight of that pain and we get on with our lives. The problem is that everything we try to do in our lives, we're dragging this bucket and we don't even know that we are. In the LifeLift technique, in just a matter of hours, you know exactly what this limitation is, and then you're given the tools to be able to let go of it so that your life experience, your emotional experience is free, to then allow your full joy to flow to be one purpose of your successes. So, this first part of the discussion, I said, would be about individual performance enhancement, and that's a core theme right there, the Untwisted and LifeLift work. But I'll just say, too, that in the work that we do, we have a variety of assessments that we help a person go through to look at, in this case, how is fear, anger, pride, vanity, sensuality affecting our management and leadership decisions. Really deep stuff. Done in very caring environments where there's nothing that's ever out of your control. And social diversity issues. How do we relate to others of all types of backgrounds? What's our life experience? How much do we value it? It's done obviously in individual and group sessions. And then, and I'll segue into customer-driven leadership now, an assessment for how we interact with others. How do we listen? How do we process information? How do we try to influence? So there are all sorts of assessments that we do to help that individual performance become its optimal. We then look at how does that individual, leader or staff member, begin to make a difference for an entire corporation. And what we've learned over the past 30 years all over the world using this technique called customer-driven leadership is that if you take the best practices of entrepreneurs combined with servant leadership, in which we're willing to put our egos aside and lift up those that are officially lower than us in the organizational chart, but no longer. We flip it. We lift them up. And these are the tools that help an organization do that consistently, measurably, and watch the processes and the customer satisfaction scores improve. So, all of that can be done and summarized for an organization with everybody being a service provider and everybody knowing exactly who their customers are and how well they're doing, just like a traffic light. Red, yellow, green. Are we green? Great. If we're yellow, we've got some studying to do. If we're red, we've got a lot of work to do. And so we intervene with the specific tools and techniques that we need for that. Okay, I think that's my time, and